Ladies and gentlemen, rebel scum and loyal to the Empire, this is Sith Talk, the show that talks all things Star Wars movies, Star Wars comics, Star Wars books. I am your host, and I've been your host for a minute here. I don't even remember how long I've been doing this, but it's been a while. Zach Chrisman, aka the Lord of Lore, and joining me for the last couple of years is Brandon the Bendu. Hey man, how are you?
Great, man. It has been a couple years that we've been doing this together.
Mm-hmm.
What, we're going on 2 or 3 now?
We're on close
You and
to
I have been.
4 or 5, because I think it was around COVID, the end of COVID. Yep, because Sammy B was he was walking, and I thought about it, and I was like, man, I don't really feel like doing this show on my own, but like, man, episode 9's coming out, and I'm really gonna want to talk about it, so I don't want to. And we've been here ever since. Hey.
We've been here ever since. And we will be talking a little bit about episode 9
Oh,
on this
sounds
episode
wonderful.
too. So, or at least episode 9 adjacent things. Because it's been a minute since we've been on Sith Talk, and so we have a lot of talking to do.
Yeah. So how you been?
I'm good, man.
Ready to
Just
get right
enjoyed
into
the
it.
holidays. Yeah. Enjoyed the holidays, spent some time with family and friends, stuff like that. Kind of had some time to step away from everything, which was a little nice. So how about you? How's the new year been so far?
So the New Year's been a little rough because I think we had such a good time with our break that it was a little bit hard putting my work hat on. I'll be honest, it's been a wonderful day today. Monday, last couple days, just like I can't tell you, man, hard to wear the hat sometimes. And I had such a good time that I think like around Friday I was like, man, this is almost over, and I've just had such a good time. So all that to say, I think I'm going to be prioritizing a little more weekly, like vacations being less of the Spartan stuff, a little more of the let's try and disassociate from our job a little bit more than the go. So we'll see.
Love it, man. That's important. If anything, if I've learned anything getting older, it's, the importance of, work hard, but rest hard also, and make sure that you have that time. And I mean, we're talking, Star Wars today, and I feel like that's like a Jedi principle. Look at Qui-Gon, and he fights and then he meditates in between. We got to have that time to balance ourselves.
Yep. And even though everybody was telling me I have to come to a lot of conclusions myself for them to really make sense. And I finally, after about 4 years of running the business, decided that, I think it's time to start slowing down a little bit.
Good for you, man.
Yeah. So I know for a fact that my co-host is itching away to talk about this Star Wars stuff because I am itching away to talk about this Star Wars stuff. So with that being said, what the hell do you want to talk about? Did something happen today? Maybe?
I mean, well, here's the thing. We've been waiting to do Sith Talk for a minute so we could actually get our schedules to line up and everything. So we've got to talk. At some point, we got to talk the hunt for Ben Solo. We've got to talk this preposterous report that's come out about a leadership change in Lucasfilm. And then, of course, we've got 2026 to look ahead to and things like that. So I think maybe we just jump into it. What fits your fancy? What's kind of like the topic that's at the top of your mind today?
So the topic that's at my mind is the Kathleen Kennedy, mostly because you told me you had things that you wanted to say about it. So then I was like, all right.
I do.
I was like, all right, I'm going to let Brandon play in the kitchen. Do you want me to read this and kind of give you the official news first, or are you just ready to get right into it?
I just want to get right into it because I think if you're listening to this, you probably have seen it on social media.
Okay.
So a report came out about there being new presidents, co-presidents in Lucasfilm, and I'm so sick and tired of this bullshit, dude. I'm so sick and tired of there's a slow news cycle, and Kathleen Kennedy's gone for the 87th time. I think we're at now.
Right.
That Kathleen Kennedy's been gone in the past 5 years that we've been doing the show together. First of all, correct me if I'm wrong. I've never heard of Puck News before. Have you heard of this site before?
No, not, yes, probably technically, but no, not on my radar. I will say Matthew Bellani is a name I have heard before.
Okay.
But they will say, let's see if they said anything about Matthew Bellani. Matthew Bellani is a more well known guy in the industry of like movie news. So notable that he was actually portrayed in the Apple's The Studio. They kind of like threw that name in there because of him being around.
Well, here's my thing, dude. Like, this news coming out of these sites that nobody's heard of, right? It gets freaking exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not that this is not to say that this really has nothing to do with Puck News at all. Maybe they are a reputable source, maybe they're not. It's we bring this stuff up all the freaking time, and it gets on my last nerve. First of all, this Dave Filoni position where he's going to be in charge of creative as the co-president, he's already in charge of creative. Like, what are we talking about here? Literally giving him the same position. Second of all, why would they give Filoni a new position if he already has a position and he hasn't done anything really notable since the position started, right? You know, the movie hasn't come out. Mando and Grogu hasn't come out. We don't have a new season of Mandalorian. Ahsoka season 2 hasn't come out. Like, we don't have a lot since, you know, that would give us reason for him to get a promotion since then. And I'm a Filoni guy. I like Dave Filoni
more than me, to be
love
honest.
all my
if we're being honest, like, and I love Dave more than me. You love him a lot.
Yeah, and I still think this promotion would be undeserved when he just got a promotion, right? So it's just that the things are not lining up, you know, for me. We got Puck News as our source, and I've got nothing to go off of for them. We've got Dave Filoni essentially moving into the same position. We've got they can keep things under wraps if they want to. They're not leaking who's going to be the new president unless they're trying to get like a soft reaction to it, which I don't think they're really concerned about. I think they're making a business decision, not a fan interest decision when it comes to whoever's going to be the president of Lucasfilm when Kathleen Kennedy steps down. And I don't recall. Do you have the name pulled up of the other person named in this as the other co-president that would handle the business side?
Yes. Let's see. Filoni. It's manager and general manager. Linwin Brennan. Linwin Brennan, currently president and general manager of Lucasfilm Business.
Okay, so same thing. Like, what is she doing that's different? You know what I mean? Like, these things just aren't adding up where you're creating two positions for people who are already essentially doing those jobs. And I'm really tired of it. I'm just really tired of this constantly being the narrative that comes out anytime there's not Star Wars news. We get into this, Dave Filoni is going to be the president of Lucasfilm, or Jon Favreau is going to be the president of Lucasfilm, or so-and-so. Like, look, I get that people are dissatisfied with Kathleen Kennedy. We've talked about that ad nauseum on here. I kind of talk out of both sides of my mouth when it comes to that, if I'm being honest.
Because you're super conflicted.
I really am. But a time will come when there will be a new president of Lucasfilm, and it's probably going to happen sooner rather than later. We gotta do better with journalism, guys. We just gotta do better. We gotta stop spreading these things and posting them on social media without verifying our sources, right? It's Stranger Things is going to come up quite a bit in this episode.
You sound like you run a newsroom.
Yeah, no, that's not what I do professionally.
But no, I mean, like, because in the school background, it was a connection. Like, you do actually deal with news with kids. It's from a smaller
club, no, that's literally what I teach.
Yeah.
And it blows my mind. But there was this report that came out about Millie Bobby Brown and David Harbour and bullying and stuff like that. And when it came out from the Daily News, which is a 50-50 whether the stuff is right kind of thing. They're one that's much more interested in breaking it first than breaking it right. And
views for views.
Yeah, 100%. And so, long story short, comes out that this was actually something that happened in season 1. It had already been resolved. They repaired their relationship, all of this stuff. But it's spread across social media like wildfire of people, saying that this was a big issue, it was going to ruin season 5. It was, cancel this person, cancel that person, whatever, right? We didn't do the background research to make sure that the information that we were getting, like, it is your responsibility, if you are going to be a citizen of the internet, which is a decision, mind you. It is a decision to sign up for Instagram or sign up for Blue Sky or go on Facebook. That's a decision that you make. It's not an obligation. We act like it's an obligation to be on these things. It's not an obligation. There are people who are not on Facebook. It's perfectly fine. If you're going to make that decision to join those social networks, it's your fucking responsibility to be informed about how to, like, see if something is true or not. And as we get into this age of AI produced content, and especially as we're getting into this age where Disney has signed with OpenAI, we got to be better. We've got to be better. We've got to check things before we just spew them out there. And that's why this here, and this is not trying to be a cheap plug, this is just a core value of what we do here. We'll put stuff out if there's something newsworthy, noteworthy. We'll talk about it on the podcast. Maybe there'll be an article on it, so on and so forth. We're not trying to break stuff first here. We don't have these inside sources and stuff like that. Like, we've got some people, like authors and stuff that we talk to and we have on the show and stuff like that, and that's awesome. But, like, we're informed about what's going on because we check the facts, right? And I'm just sick and fucking tired of people not checking to see if this stuff is true. Now, all of that's to say, this may be true. There's a 1 in 1,000 chance that this may be true. But when you look at the way things are lining up, there's not any news coming out about new shows or new movies or new books. There's not any big new High Republic initiative to talk about. Like, there's nothing in Star Wars that's really, quote unquote, going on right now. And all of a sudden this report comes out that the president is going to go through this change. Like, it's wild. You're muted, dude.
Apologies. I was trying to be respectful. But that's because the announcement is in 2 weeks, they claim. So I guess we'll find out by the end of this episode. It's going to be fun for us. We're going to be really good getting back on track with Sith Talk.
Look, I'm not even gonna say that I will apologize if I'm wrong on this, because the point is, it has nothing to do with the
announcement itself.
The actual announcement itself. It's everybody reposting it without actually finding a second source that is trustworthy. When Deadline comes out with it, when Hollywood Reporter comes out with it, when the New York Times comes out with it, when the Wall Street Journal comes out with it, like, look, we can do a side note on the whole business model of these things and stuff like that. But when these sources that have a name behind them come out and say that this is happening, then I will believe it. But until then, all respect due to Puck News. And please, if I'm wrong on them, please let me know, because, again, I am being totally upfront and honest here. Like, I don't know anything about Puck News. I got nothing against Puck News, all of that. But just the constant reposting and being uninformed just has to stop.
Yeah. And like, for context, it's starting to feel a little bit, I can understand why you would be upset. And so for like newer listeners, maybe you've been last 6 months, year, first show, whatever. We have been talking about Kathleen Kennedy leaving Lucasfilm, or at least I have, since 2019. And then there was rumors then. There was rumors 3 years ago. And then I just heard, a guy that I was talking to or a guy that I listened to, he was having a show, and he didn't even want to talk about the news anymore because he was the one who pulled out that whole release about 2025 last year at the end of 2024. Remember, I was, and for those of you listening, I was convinced she was leaving 2025 because the guy that I had trusted, and I listened to this guy for years, still listen to him. His news was he heard from a credible source, and this guy does not break news. He really won't. He's done it a couple times, and he hates doing it, but he did it. Then he put it on his prediction, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't think she's leaving at all this year." And now she's leaving. First,
Yeah.
first 2 days. And so all that to say, it's just been a lot of gaslighting for the fans of Star Wars, for people who actually care. You're listening, so you care. You're invested. But it's been a lot of gaslighting. It's been a long time, and I think even if you do love Star Wars, like everything that's coming out Disney era, I think that even you probably have seen some of the cracks in the foundation kind of being uphold. For me, I'm to the point right now where it's getting really hard for me to even see positive sides in Star Wars without going back to certain things, just because it's like it's getting exhausting trying to root for a team that just seems so fucking hell bent on annoying me. Like it's like you said.
Yeah.
But,
That's understandable, dude.
But then you have to get to the actual news itself. And that's for me where I have a big problem. But I also, while you were talking, I also am thinking about your words, and they inspire something else. So the negative side of it for me is it potentially maybe she was leaving in 2025.
Mhm.
And potentially they said, well, why don't you oversee these two people? We're going to give them their we're going to give them more money and creative control. She's already running the business end. And they're seeing what James Gunn and Peter Safran are doing, with him being more of the business analytical side and James being the creative side. They're seeing that a dual CEO might work. That's what I think. And they're buddies with James Gunn. He worked over at Marvel. He was right down the street from them, essentially. They all talk, and James Gunn is a massive Star Wars guy. James Gunn loves the Old Republic. He wanted to direct one. So these movie studios talk, and they look at each other and their analytics, and they're seeing what, especially right now with Warner Brothers being sold, they're seeing how much of an improvement this dual CEO thing has worked for DC in getting their brand back up. The problem I have with this news is it's people that have already worked within Lucasfilm, and I was hoping for a little bit better of a change. Now, the positive, I was hoping for a bigger change, because what James Gunn did to DC was a total rebrand, and it fucking hurt when it first happened, but now it's starting to really like pop off and flourish.
Yeah.
So that's my positive, or my both positive and negative side about all of it. And then when it comes to my feelings specifically about the business end, I don't know her business side, so I won't speak on that. I am a little concerned about Dave Filoni running creative control, because I know he's become, it seems that he has become somewhat of a gatekeeper, and Star Wars needs fresh ideas, not the same ones, in my opinion.
I don't think gatekeeper is the right term. I'm nitpicking semantics here.
Fair,
Because
go for it. It's a podcast.
Gatekeeper gets tossed around just like Mary Sue and some of these other terms and stuff like that. I don't think gatekeeper, to me at least,
Specific
means
vision.
Yeah, like gatekeeper means like keeping people out of it. I think by the results of how he tells stories, he does keep people out of it, but I don't think that's ever his intention to it. I think he knows one way to make Star Wars, and that's the George Lucas way. And we are at a point where I think the George Lucas way of making Star Wars still has its merits. Absolutely. You're never going to hear me say, turn against redemption, or that these stories shouldn't be about hope, or, all of those things, right? Like, we don't need a complete 180 like DC needed, to go from what Snyder was doing to what Gunn is doing. Was a full 180 on that, on the themes they're focused on like the only things those two things have in common really to me is the characters. We need to keep that through line of the themes of Star Wars and stuff like that, but in the actual making of the Star War, Dave Filoni has a way of doing it, and he's very stuck in the George Lucas formula of what making Star Wars looks like. And we need more people who are going to be out there and take risks, who are going to push the boundaries creatively, who are going to say like, well, why haven't we looked at hope from this angle? Or why haven't we told a redemption story where the character gets to live on the big screen? We'll get to that in a little bit. These kinds of things, right? And you can even go to, surprise, surprise, we're going to bring up the Acolyte on Sith Talk, but you go to the Acolyte, right? You and I were very excited for it. And then we find out Dave Filoni put his fingers in there and changed with the entire perspective of what the show was supposed to be, right? So that becomes really problematic. And I don't want to blame any one person for a show that has a lot of faults and a lot of failures from different angles, but multiple sources reporting that points to it being true, right? And what really changed there, from my understanding, is that Filoni basically said like it needs to be from the perspective of the Jedi, because that's how he tells Star Wars stories, not from the perspective of the dark side users, right? And that really changed what Leslie Headland was doing with the story. So I think, to go back to your original point, he gatekeeps by accident in the way that he tells his stories, and in the characters that he involves in his stories, and so on and so forth, where like Maul Shadow Lord, I'm fucking pumped for that show, right? But if you don't know that Maul has been alive for years, if your 2 points of contact with Maul are episode 1 and Solo, like, why are you going to watch Shadow Lord if you haven't watched the Clone Wars and Rebels, to have context of where the journey is going, you know what, or where it's been and where it's going? So there's definitely problems in the way that he's continued to tell his stories. Like, I'm still a Filoni fan. I still believe in him, and I think he has within him the capabilities and capacities to learn to break these patterns, because he learned an entire new medium in doing live action from Jon Favreau in a pretty swift span of time. So he's not a dumb man. He's not an incapable person. But I do think he's kind of caught in the cycle of, this is how we do Star Wars. And we need people to come and go like, well, could also be how we do Star Wars. And that's what we're missing right now. And if he gets elevated to that position, I don't want to say it's like going to be a boys club, but I think it is going to be like a boys club kind of thing. Not necessarily like gendered, but just, you have to be a part of the family to be a part of the family kind of thing. And we need to bring new voices and people in, especially on the TV and movie side of things, because like, I'm hoping Starfighter is more than I think it's going to be. But like Mando and Grogu it's not a new idea. Having a movie, where there's spaceships, not a new idea. Like we're going to the well too many times, and it's gonna empty at some point. And this feels like, if this is true, that this is gonna be something that really drains the well quite quickly.
I hope not, and I hope not.
I do too. Trust me. I don't like the words that are coming out of my mouth.
I don't like being completely negative, but like, I just don't see too many. I'm not too thrilled about this news, and I'm not thrilled about hearing it. I'm not thrilled about what it was. I feel like a little bit like, and it's like, it's not, me having a tough time dealing with fucking Kathleen Kennedy, but it's like, it is getting to this point where it's like, I do start to feel like I want to have an opinion in this shit, because I've been sitting here thinking about it for 5 fucking years, and all you guys got, the best you got. And look, Dave Filoni's great, but let Dave keep making fucking content, not deciding who gets to make it. Let Dave make the shit that Dave wants to make, and then let somebody else go make the shit, because Dave does have, and we need Dave. We do need Dave, and I think a lot of times what I say doesn't match how I feel. I have problems, but it's just like, I think I've decided on Dave Filoni. I love Dave Filoni. I think Dave Filoni should be making Star Wars until Dave Filoni says, hey, I don't think I want to make Star Wars anymore. Okay.
100%.
But you control Dave. Dave Filoni's not a leading man. He is not when it comes to the business. When you compare these business execs, he still needs to learn more, and he has done his homework, man. He's done his, my biggest complaint in 2020 was, what has he done? And in the last 5 years, he has spent 5 years learning film, TV, production, distribution, writing, all of it. Okay? You love Ahsoka, but what has Dave done, though, that has been groundbreaking, like Andor? That's what I'm looking for out of a leader. And I'm not saying Tony Gilroy should run Star Wars. I'm saying that's what I'm looking for.
I am. Let Tony Gilroy run Star Wars, dude. That guy's so
we're all
smart.
saying that. But like, what I mean by what I mean when I say I'm not specifically saying Tony Gilroy is bring in the fresh ideas. That gave hope. Andor had hope. It was just different. It was different spread hope. That showed you hurt, struggle. It showed you why we have to hope. Not just, well, some dialogue that says, we gotta have hope. It made you feel hope in a different way. That's different than other ways that it's been said. But you have to change it, because hope is in all of us, in my opinion. And there's ways that I find hope that are completely different than your ways. You should be able to tell stories about hope for 1,000 years. It's when you beat it over our fucking heads with the same 2 fucking character types and do another movie on it. It's like, when does it change? When can we get different hope? So
yeah. And look, I'm really hopeful that Sean Levy's movie is going to be more than I expect it to be. I'm not thrilled about the title Starfighter, but the idea of a Sean Levy movie, Star Wars movie, does excite me. You know, the potential that something like that has really does excite me. And maybe that's that first step that we need to commit to this process. But if this move is true and keeping those people who are already in-house in what is very far from a failing ship, but not a ship where there is a lot of forward momentum, if that's our move right now, that worries me more than any names do. I am with you. I think we need somebody from the outside to come in and be that person. And to kind of transition to the other thing we wanted to talk about this, I think we need somebody with more of a backbone to, quite frankly, tell higher authorities to piss off.
I love that.
Because look, like I'm a Bob Iger fan as well. I think Bob Iger has done great things for Disney in pretty much all of its avenues, all of its properties that it owns. His big mark is obviously choosing Bob Chapek as his successor and having to come back and handle that. But this Hunt for Ben Solo thing, man, we needed somebody that was not going to be a yes man to stand up for this movie that they spent $3 million on, because people want this movie. Like, go look at the internet. People want the Hunt for Ben Solo. Even people who didn't like Episode 9, even people who didn't like the sequels. Like, it's kind of a given that even if you didn't like the sequels, you liked Adam Driver being a part of Star Wars and his performance in the sequels. Like, he's pretty much the universal thing that people can agree on. And
he wanted to
have him, huh?
He wanted to do it.
He wanted to do it, right? Like, we had him involved. We had him involved in writing the script, all of these things. And then we just canned it because Bob Iger doesn't have the imagination to think of how Ben Solo could be alive, is just the most asinine thing that I've ever heard. And if you asked me to prove that Lucasfilm is failing, I don't think Lucasfilm is failing, but just go with this hypothetical with me. Well, yes. And if you ask me, hey, let's say this, I'm having a debate, you're saying this to me, about why Lucasfilm is failing. I'm going on this other show. Like, what's a talking point you think I should talk about? I'd say the Hunt for Ben Solo, because the lack of creativity, again, going back to what we were kind of talking about before, to be able to think outside of the box of what already exists is befuddling to me. I can tell you exactly how Ben Solo is alive. because the dyad. There you go. I just explained it, right? His spirit lived on in Rey. They go to Mortis. They learn how to bring him back to mortal life, right? Look at the ending of Stranger Things. Spoilers for Stranger Things. Spoilers for Stranger Things. Fucking spoilers for Stranger Things. All right, you've had your warning to turn off the episode. I apologize for nothing I'm about to say. The whole ending with 11, whether she's alive or dead. Why can't we just tell a story in The Hunt for Ben Solo that reinterprets that ending of The Rise of Skywalker to mean, is he alive or dead, instead of he's dead? We've got the evidence to go for it. Number one, when he fades away, Rey gives a look, right? Go watch the movie. It's subtle. Daisy really does a good job of it, but there's a very specific look that she gives, like she's noticed something has changed in the Force. We don't see Ben Solo as a Force ghost, even though every other person we've seen disappear like that turned into a Force ghost. We don't see him at the end of the movie with Luke and Leia, even though it would make the most sense for him to be there. So what's this absence, right? Why is there this absence of Ben Solo? Why can Rey sense him in the Force but not see him or hear him like she can Luke and Leia, right? We have all of these ways to explain how he could still be alive, and yet we can't think of it. It took me 5 minutes to think of the story. And I'm not that smart, guys. Like, I'm not a Juilliard grad film like icon like Adam Driver.
Is.
Yeah, like literally, you're telling me that guy couldn't think of something that was good enough? Like, you're fucking kidding me. It's absolutely ridiculous to think that we got rid of this movie because Bob Iger didn't have an imagination. And the ending of Stranger Things to me proves that to be true. 11's ending, being left up to the audience, was the best possible conclusion that you could have come up with for that character, in my opinion, where the audience gets to interpret it, right? And hell,
that was one of the better like leaving it up to the audience without feeling cheap or cheesy that maybe I've ever seen. I mean, like,
yeah,
that was like totally, I could see both sides. I could see this, that, whatever. Can I talk about that for 1 second, though? I need to say one thing.
Please, go off. Go off.
About specifically the Stranger Things thing, that it was extremely moving, because I had a buddy ask me the other day, and he said it in such a cool way. I don't know why it was cool, but it like stood out to me. I was like, "You're pretty cool. That was cool." He was like, he goes, "So what'd you think about the ending?" And I just knew what he was talking about. And I looked at him and I said, "You know what I think? I don't think you're gonna like my answer." I said, "I think Mike told that story and made all that up in his head to make sense of the loss of 11, but I don't know." And I said, and it can be easily written when the cast wants to come back in 10 to 15 years. Right now, because of what I deal with and because of what I have dealt with in grief, with all the grief that I've dealt with, I get it, man. Sometimes you need a story to get through. And I do get that. And that is powerful for somebody like me, because, man, that Stranger Things, that really got me. I cried a lot during that. And one of them was really stupid, because I was like, when she's like, "You fuck with the wrong family." I have not cried at a movie, like teared up at a show, a movie, like maybe light, like tearing a little bit, but
Yeah.
like there was tears coming down when I was watching that whole fucking thing. But I was like, this is a dark joke, guys. I'm really sorry. I deal with grief. But when Joyce was like, "You fuck with the wrong family," I was like, oh, a mom that cares. Lovely. It's wonderful. She'd kill a fucking Dark Lord for him. But all that's a dark joke, but it's funny. All that to say, that I think that your ideas are sound, and I'm not a sequels guy, not by nature these days. And I think the Ben Solo idea was a strike of fucking genius, and also I think it adds to our earlier point in trying new things. It doesn't, for me. I think people misconstrue that. They think that I think that, like, my vision of Star Wars is specific. It's not specific. They do try new things. They have tried some new things. I'm waiting for shit to be something that I like. They've tried a little bit with Skeleton Crew. They tried a little bit with Acolyte, but then they got nervous, they course corrected, and they fucked it up.
Mm-hmm.
So now they learned that that sucks. I'm hoping that they just learn that, look, we need new things, because I don't care if it's Rey movie, Ben movie, whatever. I just want fresh ideas. I don't care where you put the character Rey, because you could take Rey and make another OT and make original trilogy, and it would be awful because it would be the same reskin thing. Or you could take the same character and make something amazing. And all I'm asking
Right.
for is just give me something that feels fresh, or that at least, at the very least, spikes my interest. Because a Mandalorian and Grogu movie that really feels to me, and I'm sorry I made up my mind, feels to me like a Clone Wars ripoff of the original Clone Wars. When it feels like a Clone Wars ripoff movie, by basically the same writer too. And then, even though I love Sean Levy, those are two like of the same style, like guy and kid movies. You're telling me both movies, and even though I love Sean Levy and I've seen his work with children, he does great like older, younger stuff, but it's like it's the same two movies. And even though it's going to feel differently, it feels like the same two movies. Star Wars is more than space battles, Mandalorians, and even Jedi. Like, give us something that feels something new, because I'm telling you, this Disney shit is kind of getting a little bit repetitive, dog, and I need something a little bit different if you're gonna keep that interest going.
Well, and what has made Star Wars interesting in the past? Think about the things that have gotten people talking, right? The prequel trilogy got people talking because you started talking about, oh, now we're looking at a tragedy instead of a story of hope, but somehow this tragedy still has hope in it. You look at weird Force things like the Mortis arc, right? Or the commentary that was going on in early Rebels days when Luminara was thought to be alive, and then it just turned out it was a projection of some sort, and we didn't really know, and that weird Force stuff. Or getting to look at at the end of Rebels, actually taking the time to grieve Kanan's loss there. Like, these things that do something new are what get people invested in the story, right? Whether that's dealing with a new emotion or dealing with weird Force stuff. What does The Hunt for Ben Solo have? Emotion and weird Force stuff, right? Get people talking, get people going, oh, I got a reason to go back to the movies and see Star Wars, right? Because you're 100% spot on. Like, it's this wolf and cub story that just continues to be repeated time and time again. And look, I'm excited to go back and see a Star Wars movie in the theaters, right? I'm excited that I'm going to be able to go see a Star Wars movie in theaters with my friends. I'm not excited that it's a Mandalorian and Grogu movie. You know what I mean? Like, that's a problem. That's a problem. And I think it's an even bigger problem when I've loved everything they've done with Mandalorian, right? Like, I know people have their problems with season 3. I personally loved season 3. I really enjoyed it. It left me feeling satisfied at the end, other than that like weird circle out thing from the 70s that I'm just like, we didn't need that. But that's an old rant. The overall story of The Mandalorian has left me very satisfied, and left me in a place where I both wanted more but would be satisfied if it finished. It finished at a place where I'm like, okay, if you're gonna do a movie, now's the time to do a movie. But there's been nothing that I've seen from Mandalorian and Grogu, other than maybe Zeb, and that's just because I'm a Rebels nerd, that has me genuinely excited. You know? And The Hunt for Ben Solo had me genuinely excited, right? And not just because I've got a man crush on Adam Driver, not just because I have Kylo Ren tattooed on me, because it literally offered a new opportunity for Star Wars storytelling to go in another direction, right? There is no way that you tell the Hunt for Ben Solo story without doing new weird Force stuff. That maybe we go to Mortis in live action, you know? That maybe we explore Jedi lore a little bit more. That we go back into the old text. That we do, like, there's so many things that I just find compelling and intriguing that could have existed in that story. And instead, it's just going to sit on a shelf and turn into fan fiction, which, like, that's not a knock on fan fiction, but that's not what I come to Star Wars for. I come to Star Wars to go see big, bombastic, badass movies on the big screen. You know what I mean? Like, and just there's something to be said about, like, when we say risks, taking risks on here, we don't mean just like do preposterous things. Take calculated risks, have a plan, have a course of action. We talk about it all the time on here about how the High Republic is the model for what Star Wars should be doing in the future. We forget. Shout out Charles Soule 5 years ago, right around the time of, well, as at the time of this recording yesterday, but when this comes out about a week ago, 5 years ago, Light of the Jedi came out. That book was a huge risk, right? You had, what, 20, 30 other books that were dependent on that being even halfway decent, let alone as great as it is. But there was intention behind it. There was thought behind it. There was planning behind it. And there was a willingness to take risks behind it, that these people were willing to sign their name on the dotted line and say, I'm willing to sign up for that risk because I believe in the people that I'm around. From everything we've heard about the hunt for Ben Solo, those people were willing to sign their name on that line and say, I'm willing to stand on business. And Bob Iger said, nah, I don't think so. What the fuck? That's like really all I'm left with on this thing is what the fuck? It just doesn't make any sense.
And this is for those listening, there are times where I plant my flags down and I can't let them go. I'm sorry. This is one of those points where I plant my flag down and I can't let it go. And when I go watch the movie, I will remove that flag. I will watch the movie and I will see if there was a right to be that flag being planted down. But like in a galaxy where there's unlimited fucking characters, okay? Mm-hmm. And you have these two characters that we've been following through forever on a TV show, okay? Now you're going to push them to the movies, the big leagues. Welcome, boys. You made it. You did good, okay? So what kind of story are you going to give me? The same fucking hut that needs help again. And so, yeah. So we're going to send Din and Grogu out to go find the same fucking hut in the same movie that didn't do that well for the TV show that it was supposed to do well for. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's like, it's just like, had it been any other different, and I have no problem with the Hutts, Hut people, they're wonderful people, love the Hutts, except they're awful people and they're gangsters.
I was gonna say, yeah, they're really not wonderful people.
Just give me a moment here. But it's like, if it would have been any other fucking Hutt, but the fact that you had to keep that same name, dude, it's just like, I can't let go that you guys, you at Star Wars, cannot fucking either A, come up with new story arcs, 3 or 2, even new characters. Like, new characters, just give me a different name, different Hutt. Don't care. Like the Hutt.
And once they come up with a new character, they just repeatedly use them to the ends of the freaking earth. You know what I mean?
I just don't need another Hutt with the same name, man. Just give me a different Hutt. Give me something new, anything new. Like not even like you're just using the same name. All the same shit, same story. And I can't let that go. And it sucks that, because I don't want to feel that way about The Mandalorian and Grogu. I love this series, and I'm crippled with this dogmatic negative view of how much I fucking am not looking forward to this movie.
I mean, yeah, it's hard. Like, when I walked out of Solo, I remember thinking, it's weird that I'm walking out of a Star Wars movie knowing that I loved it, but that it was my least favorite Star Wars movie at the same time. Right? Now, that's changed since then, but like at the time, that was the narrative that existed for me. This is that in reverse. Like, I'm excited about this movie, but before I'm even watching it, I'm knowing it's probably going to be my least favorite Star Wars movie. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because as much as I have problems with The Rise of Skywalker, it did some pretty cool stuff. It did, it added to Sith lore. It took risks, like Sure, those risks didn't always pay off. Some of them weren't thoroughly thought through like they need to be and stuff like that, but it did take risks. So there's something to be said for that, right? And I really think this really hurts me to say, I think The Last Jedi really changed the brain chemistry of Lucasfilm, because they started to look at fan reactions as if they were collateral above the bottom line, right? The Last Jedi did really well in theaters. The Last Jedi was reviewed very well by critics. The Last Jedi was, I mean, yeah, it was less profitable, or made less money, rather. I don't know about the profitability, but at least made less money at the box office than The Force Awakens. But so did Attack of the Clones to, Phantom Menace. So did Empire Strikes Back to A New Hope. Empire Strikes Back made less money than A New Hope. Like, that just happens with sequels. Like, that's just what happens. So if The Last Jedi was always going to make less money than The Force Awakens, right? And so the reaction to The Last Jedi and the way that Lucasfilm started to do business after that has put them in a huge, huge hole. And I'm honestly, like, we just did a mega show looking at 2025 in the past and what's coming up in 2026 on the main Clashing Sabers show. I mean, I'm excited about everything that's coming, but the amount of content that we're getting is really, really small. You know, like, the TV shows we're getting are Maul Shadow Lord and The Ninth Jedi. There's like 4 books announced. There's 1 movie announced. Like, unless you're a comics reader, getting a weekly issue, you're not really getting fed new Star Wars content, when we were promised, when Disney bought Lucasfilm, that this was the beginning of, never being without new Star Wars content. Now, again, I've talked about we need to have pauses in there and breaks and stuff like that. And I still hold to that, but I don't think this is that. I think this is, we don't know what to do. So instead of making a decision, we're just going to not do anything. And that is not the right answer. And to bring this, to tie it kind of all together, getting people who are already in the system that's not working to become the presidents of Lucasfilm is keeping yourself stuck in place. Not taking the risk of doing a Ben Solo movie because we've seen him die on screen, when you've got freaking everybody and their mother, well, except for Shmi, the Great Mother, but coming back to life. Like, you showed Maul in Solo with no fucking context to people who have not seen the Clone Wars. And it was a major plot point. So doing that with Ben Solo and just canning that film because you lack imagination is getting stuck in place. You know what I mean? And it's just over and over and over again. These these creators feel like they're stuck in place. And we have the model, dude. The model freaking exists. That's the part that blows my mind. Whether you look at Marvel, whether you want to look at what James Gunn is doing with DC, whether you want to look at the High Republic, the model exists about how to do this right. And they're choosing not to do it. You know what I mean? And so I can have empathy for people having really hard jobs, but I can't have a lot of empathy for people who are making their jobs harder for no fucking reason. And that's what they're doing right now. And that's what continues to frustrate me.
And it's also, in my opinion, why you need fresh people in, because Lucasfilm is being very adamant on, like, their react. I like your analogy of, like, they made the movie they wanted to make with Last Jedi, and then we're like, oh fuck, we made the movie that everybody went to go see, but they all fucking hate now. It split the fan base, And then so ever since then, it's been a course correction of what do fans want, but they have like a weird gauge on what fans want. And I'm aware to know that like what I want and what generalized fans want are two different things. I do understand that. But I can tell you right now, repeating from what I know, and I'm just a painter, but like repeating this pattern is not going to work. And this and with what I know about Warner Brothers, AT&T, this whole, I forget the word it's called. I've completely forgotten the word the last couple days, but basically the rooms where they get information and they try and pull it out of the internet and bring it, the algorithmic way that they think that people want this, that, whatever. They pull it from an algorithm. They do these polls and they feel people out. And they're all like, it's like Chat GPT trying to make sense of something. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of there, but it's not exactly there. They want to do the right thing. They just don't know how. So they're like, we're going to give you, Rey's going to have a yellow lightsaber. It's like all these cool, like, they give you the shiny toys without the context that we're actually looking for. We're not looking for like, yeah, it's cool that Rey has a yellow lightsaber. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for Rey getting a new lightsaber because that shows that Rey in Star Wars, Rey is now evolving as a Jedi, because normally Jedi have gotten new lightsabers as they evolve. Anakin's saber is different than his episode 3 one. Luke's is different than the Return of the Jedi. That's part of a trope that Star Wars has of a coming of age with these trilogy movies. So I wasn't saying specifically, I like the color yellow. I think the color yellow looks grand. I think it's always been a color in Star Wars that I love to see. So that was my guess. But they're like, oh yeah, they want a yellow lightsaber. We'll give them. You get what I mean? Like, it's not the yellow lightsaber. It's what it says. It's what it does. It's like, that's the problem with algorithmic based stuff. It's like, it's one thing to say it, to do it, to hand it, but like, I'm looking for the context.
Well, it's like they think we're interested in, you know how like in commercials with food, they have all these things to make it look like McDonald's burgers are better than McDonald's burgers are, right? Whether it's like using glue as the mayonnaise to make it pop better on screen, or whatever the heck they do. You know what I mean? They think we want that version of Star Wars, when really we want just a good burger that gives us, energy and nutrition moving forward, right? Like, that's what we want. And until they figure that out, like, somebody just has to grow up at Lucasfilm, quite frankly. The shout out to Sky Talkers. Go listen to them. If you like what we're doing, you'll love what Sky Talkers is doing. But they're doing a Clone Wars rewatch, and they're talking about the Citadel arc. Is the episodes that I'm listening to right now. People were freaking out when Evan Peel died in Clone Wars because he had a different death than he did in the EU. That George had said, like, I'm not concerned with the EU. People were divided over that. You know what I mean? Like, Star Wars has been divided forever. The last time that Star Wars wasn't divided was 1977.
Which is also why it's also why you have to know the brand to its core. You have to know what it needs. You have to know the business. You have to be able to read the room, and then also understand that, and this is the business side of me, every day that I mean, not every day, but I look at from a sense of like, I'm aware that my father built this business. He did it this way and it worked and it's cool. And I grew up and I saw some cracks and I saw some things that I would do differently. And I've been trying to do that. The thing is, he didn't realize that the world had changed without him a little bit. He got stagnant on some things. So these fresh ideas I'm giving him are overwhelming and they're crazy to him because he stopped learning. He started getting desensitized by the business, And so it's like, I come in, try some new things with my way, and, they sometimes work. Sometimes they work really well. Sometimes they just, okay, but they still work. It's like we ran a sale last month or, last couple months, and it didn't do gangbusters, but it kept us busy and we were really happy. My boss had a really good had a really good winter vacation with a lot of ease, just because it worked. So you got to have fresh, you know what I mean? Like that's fresh. That's what fresh
Yeah.
does. You got to jump in a little fresh, somebody fresh. And I would have loved to see Dave Filoni stick around if somebody from the business end might have been a little different, or vice versa. Like it's okay that you want a grounding point for your business, that somebody that's stuck around. Because Lucasfilm has always been a weird one where it's never really felt corporate until now. In the last 5 years, or the last like 10 years, it's been a mom and pop shop, one of the biggest mom and pop shops ever to exist. But you need that Lucasfilm. That's a bad. You need a grounding to the to the actual business itself. But I don't like that both are dedicated to it. And that was that was the funniest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Go watch on YouTube if you're listening on podcast. And
man,
it's what motion Zach shouldn't have made on video, but
on accident. No, man, not even.
I think we're kind of getting to a point that we talk about on here consistently, that this is just a reiteration of, is, like I said, it's time for Star Wars to grow up. It's time to stop blaming other factors. It's time to stop thinking that these things happen on accident. It's time to start looking at themselves in the mirror and realizing, like, if you don't see the crazy person on the bus, it might just be you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good way to end that episode. Mostly because it says everything very perfect. Do you have any final thoughts?
Make the hunt for Ben Solo. Thank you. Goodbye. Good night. Yeah. Tip your waiters, waitresses, all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, when it comes to Lucasfilm, is I think what I'll need, because I think I'm not going to get the ideal sense that I wanted. I wanted 2 new fresh faces. If this happens, I don't think we're getting that, because we would have heard something, even if this was even close. Hopefully it's fake. If it's fake, then great. We wasted our time, but this is still a subject that's relevant because it is going to be talked about very soon, regardless of the news. And I just hope that the future of Star Wars, we make what we announce, and we don't announce shit until we are ready to make it. And that's really it. And that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, really. But it has everything to do with what we're talking about, because at the end of the day, it's just been really fucking exhausting to keep up with whatever the fuck Lucasfilm is doing. Like, are we making the biblical version, the 10 Commandments version of Star Wars? Are we making that Jedi film? Nope. Are we doing that Rey film? Nope. We are doing the Rey film. Nope. It's just like, dude, just please be consistent at this point. I can't keep up, and to be honest with you, it fucking turns me off. Like, you guys need to start being consistent, because these expectations that just go away, they really fuck me up, and I really don't like it.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up my feelings as well.
So with that being said, why don't you tell us about one of the very positive things we do here at Clashing Sabers?
Yeah, so, I mean, despite how critical we've been on this episode, we do love this stuff. And I think critique, hopefully it's shown you that love, and has encouraged you to continue listening, continue watching, continue checking out what we're working on, because all of this is aimed in a very particular direction, and that is to drive people to our nonprofit branch, where we put Star Wars books into classrooms across the country. So many of you know that there's an attack on books happening in our country right now, and around the world, really. Books are being pulled from libraries for a multitude of just asinine reasons, in a lot of cases, and that includes Star Wars books, man, unfortunately, being pulled because they don't fit into these very narrow parameters of what some people think should be in a library. So to battle that, we said, fuck that. Let's give away free Star Wars books. And so we have our nonprofit branch that puts Star Wars books into classrooms. For every book they take out, we want to put 3 books in. And so we do that through our Patreon, patreon.com/clashing-sabers, which is linked in the show notes wherever you're listening. And you can give however much you want a month, get some bonus episodes and content, but more importantly, support that mission in a tax deductible manner, mind you.
You just see like somebody's like loaded, and you just have like 400 million books.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's an Ellis tax write off. The Ellis brothers,
Yeah.
are like, and then you're like, fuck.
But 100% of that money goes to buying and shipping books to get them into the hands of kids in classrooms. If you can give, that's fantastic. If you can't, that's totally okay. Go over to our website, clashing-sabers.net, and nominate a teacher. Here's how the nomination works. Here's I'm gonna give you guys a little behind the scenes here. So you guys send in these teachers, and then we send that teacher books. That's it. That's the whole nomination process. We handpick the books for the teacher's needs, for the classroom that they have in front of them. Those books go with the teacher wherever they go. They're not the school's books. They're the teacher's books for their library. It doesn't matter what subject they teach. It doesn't matter where they teach in the country. We're sending them books. So it's been a hot second since we've been able to send a book box to a teacher. So if you know a teacher, if you are a teacher, make sure you go over there and nominate them. Here's what I want you to put in the nomination box. So I know you were listening to this Sith Talk episode. Give them books. That's what I want you to put. Give them books in the reason for nomination. And that's going to tell me you were listening to this episode of Sith Talk. All right. And that's how we're going to get Star Wars books in the classrooms. So go over and do that. And then stay tuned to everything we're doing here by following us on Clashing Sabers on all social medias.
And this is how we're going to end Star Wars. With that being said, may the Force be with you.
Most of the time.